Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from PaulGaleNetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is January 4th, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. Now, before I officially begin, I gotta say, Happy New Year's. This is the first episode of Video Game News with Paul Gale Network for the year 2021, so even though we are a few days in, I want to say now, Happy New Year's. I hope you all have a happy, safe, healthy, successful 2021. There's not a whole lot to talk about today, as the first week or so of the new year is typically on the more quiet side in the video game industry, but we will go over a couple of things, and I'm sure that, as always, a couple of weeks in, more gaming announcements begin coming out, and I'm sure that 2021 is just going to have plenty of awesome stories, games to look forward to, surprise announcements, etc. So here's to a great one. That out of the way, let's get into some gaming news. All right, so there's a little bit of a delay in getting the following information, but this is actually Famitsu's week 52 of 2020 sales data coming out of Japan that goes from December 21st up until December 27th. We will get more from this chart, but from now, courtesy of Reset Era and Chris1964, thank you again for supplying this in a nice, easy layout. This is what we've got. We only have the number one best-selling game instead of the typical top 10, and that's Momotaro Dentetsu, which sold a really impressive 267,000 copies for the week, now passing that game into the 1 million plus territory, and that's just physical sales, up 28% from the previous week. Also keep in mind, this goes until December 27th, and what's interesting is, you don't always have a very nice week 1 through week 52, always going from Sunday to Saturday, and being perfect. 2020, for instance, it included 2 days of 2019. So week 1 of 2020 was December 30th through January 5th. And week 52, as a result, is going up until December 27th, but that still leaves 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st unaccounted for, right? And if you think about it, that will make sense, and I will explain why I told you that backstory going into the following information. We have our weekly sales here. Nintendo Switch on top, 278,000 copies sold, up from the previous week, and up quite significantly from the previous year. Its year to date is 5,957,000. And, if you're a numbers person, if you're a fan of video games, and if you're a fan of Japanese sales charts, etc., this was the year that a lot of us were looking at. Could Nintendo Switch hit 6 million in Japan? Not like Nintendo cares if, their system honestly was 43,000 units shy in Japan. But for us, for some reason, it's just fun to root a company on and root a hardware sales number on. We like that stats. We like that data that we get in. So seeing this fall short, you're like, too bad. But that's not quite the case. You see, if you take off 2/7 of the first week of 2020, because it accounted for a couple of days of 2019, then this number actually goes down a little bit. It's something like 5,880,000. But then that means that you could add 5/7 of next week's data to this chart. So next week, we have the 28th going into the 3rd or so. So if you just take off those last couple of days and count what's in for 2020 to make sure that 2020's charts have all 365 days worth, then Nintendo Switch only needs to sell something like 175,000 copies next week. That if you then take 5/7 of that and apply it to this, you're going to have perfectly that 6 million and change number for the year. Even if you don't take that into consideration, which some people would say, no, that's not the way that charts work, even though in actuality it probably is closer to what I just said. But even if you don't take that into consideration, I'm sure that 43,000 were sold from My Nintendo, which Famitsu does not necessarily track. So if you care about this, there's still probably good reason to believe that Nintendo Switch did in fact sell 6 million in Japan. If you don't care about that as much as I broke it down, then, well, sorry, I'm passionate about it. I can't help but get excited when I talk about sales. But moving along in this very short list, we have Nintendo Switch at number 1. We got PS5 at number 2 with 13,000, PS4 at number 3 with 12,600, and that's it. I will update you as more sales data come out, but it's going to be interesting because usually you'll see like a week 52, week 53, or week 52, week 1 kind of combined into one. It might come at different times, so that's all we have for now, but it's still pretty exciting to talk about. Plus, it gave me an opportunity to deep dive into some 6 million talk territory. Next up for our mature audiences, the 2021 January issue, which is issue number 23 of Shagmag, came out. And as you know, Paul Gale Network, teamed up with Shagmag with Julia Rose, this lady right here, the owner of the magazine, a few months ago, and now contribute monthly articles. In November, I supplied the magazine's first top 5 most recommended games for November 2020. In December, I did another top 5 games recommended for December 2020. And this time around, I did something different. It was games to play at the office. If you have an office job, you're bored at work, you need to have some good distraction. So it's a nice article. Nintendo Switch is in there. I mentioned some of the top games that I picked, that if you're bringing your console to work to kind of take a break from your responsibilities or whatever, then you could do that. So if you're old enough, if you're mature enough, this is a magazine that has nudity in it and language appropriate of 18 and plus market, then you could go to shagmag.com and subscribe and check it out. But I thought I would let you know that because it's pretty cool. It's awesome seeing Shagmag getting bigger and bigger, and for the last 3 months now having Paul Gale Network supply the video game information. So nice partnership we have going on. And finally, in today's video game news, this is something exciting for me personally. I'm reading this off of GoNintendo.com, which, as I mentioned previously on this channel, is run by Raw Meat Cowboy, my friend Kevin Cassidy. GoNintendo.com. Check it out for great handling of all things Nintendo. This information reveals to us something new found in Street Fighter Alpha 2 for Super Nintendo. This is one of my favorite games of all time. The Street Fighter franchise in general is one of my favorite games ever made, one of my favorite series ever made, and Street Fighter Alpha 2 is just about my favorite Street Fighter game if I had to pick one. And that's a pretty tough thing to say because Street Fighter 4 I'm a big fan of. That was the revival of Street Fighter. I think 4 by the end of it was such a solid game. I'm personally a character in Street Fighter 4, so hard to not like that. Street Fighter 2, for how iconic it was really important to the industry and was groundbreaking. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike brought such animation and fluidity with a sizable roster and an advanced pairing system, and it was a fantastic game. Street Fighter 5 now is a fantastic game and really holds its own as one of the best Street Fighter games out there. But at launch, it was on the weaker side in terms of performance. But gosh, Street Fighter Alpha 2 had that look just polished up that Alpha brought new to the series, a great roster of old and new, a nice intro. The best stages per character since the original Street Fighter 2. The best music, arguably in the series, second most iconic to Street Fighter 2's, the Alpha counter system, the custom combo system, loved it, mid-bosses, secret endings, multiple super moves per character, etc. So to have a game 25 years later have a brand new thing found is awesome. Let me read it to you. This is Shin Akuma, by the way, Super Akuma, if you will. Now I will read this as written by Kevin Cassidy from GoNintendo.com. Street Fighter Alpha 2 came to the Super Nintendo 25 years ago, and it's taken that long for one of the game's cheat codes to be discovered. Street Fighter fan Gisaha went poking around the game to try and reverse engineer the experience, which is what led him to the code's discovery. This code allows you to unlock Shin Akuma for the game's roster. In order to make that code work, you have to complete arcade mode with a new high score. After that, enter the initials KAJ and return to the title screen. With the two-player controller, hold down the L, X, Y, and start buttons, while player 1 controller is used to select versus mode. Finally, either player can hold the start button while selecting Akuma to unlock Shin Akuma. Wow! Talk about a complex way of unlocking a secret character. Capcom has done awesome codes like this in the past. Now, Street Fighter 2, back on Super Nintendo, if you went down or up LYB, you got to have 2 Ryus, 2 Kens, 2 Chun-Lis instead of just Ryu taking up one spot, and then you have to pick Ken or someone else if you wanted a different, character to play in versus mode. That code allowed you to have 2 characters of the same character play, 2 players of the same character play. In Street Fighter 2 Turbo, down R up LYB came back once again, and depending on how you did it, you could either disable special moves, no Hadoukens, no Shoryukens, or you could crank up the speed to go from 3 to 4 max to 10 max. And that's pretty cool to see. In Street Fighter Alpha 2, we had codes to unlock the Australia stage holding start. You can unlock Chun-Li's classic costume and so forth. But this is something that's so complex. Even rewinding back in time to Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, a code how to select going from Ryu to Sagat and down to Ken and so forth to get Akuma. Even Shin Akuma available in Ultra Street Fighter 2, the Final Challengers on Nintendo Switch. You can get Shin Akuma in that game by going 1987. So really cool stuff. But this has got to be the most complex that Capcom's ever put in a game, because no Electronic Gaming Monthly, no Nintendo Power, Gamers.com, OneUp.com. We never discovered this. This is awesome stuff. I got to give a little bit of a shout out here. This is the original place. I found out the news from Go Nintendo, but this is the original place, Zeldix.net, and the user, as I read earlier, Gisaha, found it out. So major props, major thanks for doing this reverse engineering process, because I'm going to have to check this out. This is great. I still have my old SNES. I still have my old copy of Street Fighter Alpha 2. I also have this on Wii U as part of the Wii's Virtual Console system and whatnot. So that's just exciting news. When you fought Shin Akuma, when you got to him as a last boss, he was brutal. It didn't matter if you were even playing on like a normal difficulty level. He was just hard in this game. So getting to pick him now and be faster and have 2 air fireballs come out, it's going to be pretty cool to play. So I will fire this up and give it a try. All right, that's going to do it today for Video Game News. Like I said, shorter side when it comes to material, but I'm looking forward to 2021 and all that it brings. We've got an exciting year up ahead. We have The Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary this year. I expect to see Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 come out, I think. We've got new God of War coming out, Ragnarok. We've got Halo Infinite. There are a whole mess of games that should come out this year, or that we should see trailers of. We could see Metroid Prime 4, new Horizon game. Plenty of surprises, I'm sure. Trailer for Perfect Dark, even though it's probably not ready for a couple more years. It's going to be exciting. We've got Super Nintendo World opening up. That's video game related. Since we are in 2021, we might see a Super Mario CG movie trailer at this point. We've got Mortal Kombat movie coming out. No matter if it's directly video game related or video game adjacent in terms of parks and films, seeing what Sony's cooking with, Uncharted with Tom Holland, and what are their other PlayStation related products in terms of, their movies and their TV shows that are coming out, What's up with the Halo TV series, you know? What are we going to see that's a surprise on Netflix? Something that's the next Castlevania? There's a lot to talk about. Partnerships, shoes, etc. Nintendo Directs, E3. Will we get E3 back? Let's hope for a healthy year. Yeah, I'm pumped. It's going to be good. I will continue doing what I do. I will give you my live stream reactions to things and supply my video game news days and video game talk days and hopefully have fun with y'all. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Hope you all have a good one. Happy New Year one more time. This is Paul Gale from Paul Gale Network signing out. Take it easy and see you next time. Bye.